The scream cut through the bright afternoon like a blade, sharp and desperate, and every head on the sunlit roadside turned at once as a small girl came running straight toward the line of motorcycles. Dust clung to her knees, her shoes were mismatched, and tears streaked down her cheeks as if the day itself had wounded her. She did not slow, did not hesitate at the sight of leather jackets and roaring engines. She ran as if these strangers were the last solid ground left in a world that was collapsing beneath her feet. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment right now. If you believe in second chances, if you believe that kindness can come from the most unexpected places, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel Only Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. It was a clear daytime afternoon, the kind where the sky stretched white and blue and the sun warmed everything it touched, when the Iron Ridge bikers had stopped near the edge of a small town for rest and water. The chrome on their bikes reflected the light like mirrors, and the air smelled of hot asphalt and pine drifting in from the nearby hills. People often crossed the street to avoid them, judging by appearances alone, but on that day there was no fear in the little girl's eyes as she ran toward them. There was only terror, raw and unfiltered, the kind that strips away any sense of who looks safe and who does not. Her name was Maribel, though none of them knew it yet, and her small chest heaved as she finally collapsed near the front tire of one of the bikes, her sobs shaking her whole body. The bikers froze, caught between instinct and surprise. Rafe Calder, broad-shouldered and sun-weathered, had been with the group the longest, his beard streaked with gray that spoke of years on the road and mistakes he did not brag about. Beside him stood Kellen Rowe, younger, with restless eyes and a past he rarely let surface. Osric Hale leaned against his bike, quiet and observant, while Junia Cross adjusted her gloves, her presence a reminder that strength did not always look the same. They had all lived lives where help was something you learned to survive without, and yet the sight of a child in pain broke through every hardened layer they wore. Maribel could barely breathe through her tears. Her arms were wrapped around herself as if she were trying to hold herself together. She kept glancing back toward the town, toward a narrow street lined with faded houses and a corner store with peeling paint. The fear on her face told a story before words ever could. The bikers did not need explanations to understand that something was wrong, terribly wrong. In that moment, engines were cut, laughter disappeared, and the road grew quiet except for the sound of a child crying under the open sky. Rafe knelt down slowly, careful not to startle her, his movements deliberate in a way that suggested practice with fragile things. He did not touch her at first. He waited, letting her see that no one was going to force anything, that the space around her was safe. Junia moved closer, her posture softening, eyes scanning Maribel's scraped knees and trembling hands. Kellen stood watch, turning his gaze toward the direction the girl had come from, alert to any sign of danger. Osric pulled a clean cloth from his pack, the kind of small preparedness that comes from years of being ready for the unexpected. As the minutes passed, Maribel's sobs slowed into uneven breaths. The bikers learned her name from the worn bracelet on her wrist, letters etched into cheap metal that caught the sunlight. They learned from her body language, from the way she flinched at distant sounds, that she had been running for a long time. When she finally allowed Junia to wrap the cloth gently around her knee, it was a silent agreement, a fragile trust forming under the open afternoon sky. What none of them knew yet was that Maribel had been living in a house where fear had become routine. Her mother worked long hours and trusted the wrong people, leaving Maribel in the care of someone who saw a small child as an easy target. That afternoon, something inside Maribel had snapped, a survival instinct stronger than the fear drilled into her. She had run without a plan, without knowing where she was going, just knowing she had to get away. The sound of motorcycle engines had not scared her. It had drawn her in like a promise of strength. The bikers did not rush. They did not panic. They understood that whatever had driven her to them would not be solved by speed alone. Rafe signaled to Osric, who had already pulled out his phone, not to record or call attention but to prepare for what might come next. Kellen walked the perimeter, his presence a quiet warning to anyone watching from afar. Junia stayed close to Maribel, offering water, shade, and patience. The day moved on around them, cars passing, birds calling from trees, the sun inching westward as if nothing extraordinary was happening, yet everything had changed. Soon, townspeople began to notice. A shopkeeper stepped outside, curiosity written on his face. A couple slowed their car, eyes lingering on the scene. Whispers began, fueled by assumptions about bikers and danger, but those whispers died when they saw the way the group shielded the child, the way their attention never wavered from her well-being. The image did not match the stories people told themselves, and that discomfort forced a reckoning. As authorities arrived, drawn by concerned calls, the bikers remained calm. There was no hostility, no posturing, only a firm insistence that Maribel be treated gently and listened to fully. Rafe stood his ground with a quiet resolve that came from years of knowing when to fight and when to stand still. Junia stayed by Maribel's side until a trained counselor arrived, making sure the child was never alone in that moment of transition. Kellen's jaw tightened as he watched the process unfold, memories of his own childhood rising unbidden, reminding him why he had learned to rely on himself so early. Osric kept his gaze steady, a silent witness to a turning point none of them would forget. The truth came out slowly, as truths often do. It was not dramatic or loud. It was a series of realizations that left everyone involved feeling heavy and hollow. Yet within that heaviness was relief, because Maribel had run, because she had trusted strangers, because she had survived. The bikers listened from a respectful distance, their role shifting from protectors to guardians of a moment that would ripple outward in ways they could not yet see. Hours later, as the sun dipped lower and the light softened into gold, Maribel was taken to a safe place, surrounded by people whose job it was to protect her. She looked back once, her eyes finding the group of bikers still standing by their machines. There was no fear in her gaze now. There was gratitude, and something else too, something like wonder. She raised her bandaged hand slightly before being guided away, a small gesture that carried the weight of everything she could not say. The bikers mounted their bikes again, but the engines did not roar right away. They stood there in the fading afternoon, each lost in their own thoughts. Rafe felt a quiet peace settle in his chest, the kind that comes when you know you did the right thing without needing recognition. Junia wiped her eyes, unashamed of the tears that came, because she understood that strength and softness were not opposites. Kellen exhaled a breath he felt he had been holding for years, a release he did not know he needed. Osric looked down the road ahead, aware that some journeys change you even when they last only a few hours. Word of what happened spread through the town faster than anyone expected. The same people who once crossed the street now spoke with a new tone, one of respect and reconsideration. A mural appeared weeks later on the wall of the corner store, painted by local artists, depicting a small girl running toward a line of motorcycles under a bright sun. It became a symbol, not of fear, but of hope found in unlikely places. Maribel's life did not become perfect overnight. Healing never works that way. But she carried with her the memory of that afternoon, of strangers who chose compassion without hesitation. It became a quiet source of strength as she grew, a reminder that when the world feels unsafe, there are still hands ready to help, even if they belong to people you were taught to fear. Stories like this do not end neatly. They linger. They ask questions of everyone who hears them. They challenge assumptions and invite empathy. If this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that kindness can appear where you least expect it, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with others, and let us know your thoughts. Your engagement helps spread messages that matter. Before we reach the final moments, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and tell us where you believe kindness comes from in your own life. Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs today. As the Iron Ridge bikers rode out of town that day, the road ahead shimmered in the warm daylight, endless and uncertain, just like life itself. They did not know what the future held for Maribel or for themselves, but they knew one thing with certainty. In a world that often looks for reasons to turn away, choosing to stop, to kneel down, and to help can change everything. And sometimes, a little girl running in tears toward a group of bikers can remind everyone watching that humanity is still very much alive.